Hello, and this is Clint Davis. Welcome to my companion video presentation summarizing my PowerPoint presentation for organizational leadership, which covers my viewpoint on how world poverty is impacted by the use of fossil fuels and how the lack of leadership in the fossil fuels industry contributes to this. Leaders in the fossil fuels industry especially need to act as change agents in order to lead the way in eliminating poverty by doing everything they can to lead the transition to divest from fossil fuels as much as possible. More than 3 billion people, nearly one-half of the world's population, live in poverty, living on less than $2.50 a day. 1.3 billion of them live in extreme poverty, subsisting on less than $1.25 a day. These are 2017 figures. In 2013, the U.S. itself had 20% child poverty rate, ranking 33rd out of 41 rich countries for the highest child poverty rates. That's a 2016 figure. 1/4 of all humans live without electricity, approximately 1.6 billion people. That's as of 2017. 80% of the world population lives on less than $10 a day. That's also as of 2017 figures. The impoverished least are likely to have access to power and will remain poor if unconnected. That is a statistic from 2015. It has been proven that the use of fossil fuels damages our environment and our health, polluting the Earth's atmosphere and releasing dangerous greenhouse gases that cause climate change. Fossil fuels contribute to poverty as well. They are not easily accessible for most people, definitely not for the nearly half of the world's population that lives in poverty. Due to a lack of access of adequate power, many do not have the ability to meet basic needs, such as the power for their homes and businesses to run those homes and businesses, or light to read by or for their children to study by at night, or even the ability to cook decent meals for themselves and their families. There are alternate fuel sources available, such as solar power, wind power, geothermal, which is heat energy from the earth, and hydroelectric. Solar power is already providing cheap power in rural homes such as those in India, and is set to become the cheapest available alternative fuel source, becoming commercially available by the end of the decade, which will be 2020. Even though the emphasis on alternative fuels has begun and is picking up momentum, it has taken far too long for it to do so. The world could have been well into the transition stage by now from fossil fuels to alternative fuel sources. One major factor as to why the transition has been lagging until now is corporate greed. The leaders in the fossil fuels industry have not only not truly engaged in this effort to lead, they have failed to be proactive. And as a result, there has been no real incentive to push for change until now. In order to hasten this transition, these industry leaders must place concern for people above concern for profits. And in doing so, they will become transformational leaders who inspire major change and new ways of doing things with those who follow them. Leaders and CEOs are in a unique position to see the need for changes that are driven by external forces much sooner than their followers at the organizational level. However, until now, they have, as I've said, not been proactive and have been slow to react to the need for change in this area. Leaders in the fossil fuels industry need to communicate clear, concise visions of a better world that is not dependent on fossil fuels to their followers. If these leaders step up, the leaders in the rest of the world will follow. These leaders are the most influential in this fight to divest from fossil fuels. These leaders can inspire change by promoting and investing in renewable energy jobs. Jobs in solar alone surpassed oil and natural gas for the first time in 2014. Investing in and supporting groups such as the Fossil Free Movement, The fossil-free movement is a divestiture movement, and it was instrumental in Stanford University's decision to divest from its $18.7 billion endowment from the coal companies due to the availability of alternate fuel sources. And they did this peacefully, without violence or threats or coercion. These leaders can also push to improve local areas of drilling where they are drilling by investing in solar for local homes and businesses to improve them. They need to start the transition of operations from oil, natural gas, and coal to solar, wind, geothermal, and hydroelectric sources. This is probably one of the most critical areas where they can have an impact. They need to truly partner with politicians to enact new regulations concerning new home construction. In other words, homes that are built from the ground up using solar, because it is cheaper to do it then than it is for the homeowners to come along later and try to incorporate solar. Political lawmakers also need to enact legislation to mandate percentages of monies given to foreign countries be used to place solar in impoverished homes. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 2 tells us the rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. And Leviticus chapter 25 verse 35 also tells us, if your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you shall support him as though he were a stranger and a sojourner, and he shall live with you. In Luke 18:22, Jesus commands a rich ruler to sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Thus, helping to wipe out poverty by accelerating the transition from fossil fuels is not just good for the environment or even good business. It is a Christian moral imperative. Thank you for watching, and God bless.